What is going on, sports card fiends? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day, and today we're here with a video on why U.S. men's national team players will always be overvalued in relation to their actual ability. This might come as a shock to some people. Other people, they might see that as a fairly obvious thing to say. Really depends what camp you're coming from. I run into a lot of people on Instagram mostly. They like to send me DMs and whatnot and tell me about how I'm an idiot and how U.S. men's national team players are terrible. You'll see it in a lot of Discord forums as well. People always just taking stabs at it. And I mean, personally, it doesn't kill me too much. I figure now I can just send them this video if they ever want to, kind of hash through this. But at the end of the day, I believe in both the U.S. men's national team soccer, and I believe in European and just other soccer stars in general, and the collectability of all of it. I'm not just one type of guy. I will kind of dabble in a lot of different things, and ultimately I've ended up in soccer, and I've been kind of hanging out here for a while because I think it has a ton of potential, so don't get mad at me. This is just kind of how I think. So let's just go ahead and get on into it. First, to start, I'm going to say it's all about perspective. That is the biggest factor here, is that it's all about how you see things. So Europeans, they come into this and they look at soccer because it's what they like, and I don't blame them, but then they're looking at soccer and they're like, why are these Americans so overpriced? And I get it, because you see the skill level of a European guy that you think's good, maybe even proven, and then you're like, well, this American youngster that hasn't done too much, and I mean, I watched him a few times, he sucks. Why is he worth anything? Well, this is why. Because it's all about perspective. You can't view it in just the soccer sense. You have to view it in the larger collectible card collecting sense. Worldwide, this hasn't been a culturally just growing thing like it has been here. Here, it's been absolutely insane, and we've obviously seen that in soccer and the prices and kind of how this has gone the last year. So you have to see it from that whole big picture perspective. And at the end of the day, UFC is, kind of worldwide. I guess it's not. I mean, it's probably really not that popular elsewhere. I don't know how much the fighting and whatnots is worth to other people, but UFC is at least used to be a pretty small thing. Now it's gotten a little bit bigger, but even then, UFC cards at this point kind of mimic what I see with the U.S. men's national team soccer and kind of a general scale of soccer. On the high ends, it gets a lot higher than UFC, but for the most part, it's pretty close. And I mean, that seems pretty crazy to me because UFC is, I like it. Personally, big UFC guy, but I just think soccer has a ton more potential, both within the U.S. and just bigger picture collecting sense. So I think it's pretty crazy, and that's why I am here, both with Europeans and with U.S. men's national team players. As far as more in particular for the U.S. men's national team side of things, like I said, I think the market is overall undervalued. In addition to that, it's all about what you watch. Really, that is, it's apparent to everyone. You collect what you like, who you remember, who you care about. And so at the end of the day, U.S. men's national or U.S. people are going to watch U.S. men's national team guys a lot more. Just kind of the way it is. That's our into soccer. That's how we can kind of bridge the gap. I can't just become a random fan of some European team that I've never really connected with in any sense. I could, but it's pretty artificial and not really true. So, I think just branching through the U.S. men's national team is a pretty good way of getting at this. And people can see that however they may, but it's just a way to care. And I think that is another thing. 2026 World Cup is a massive factor in why I believe the downside for U.S. men's national team cards is not that far down there. Because at the end of the day, cards can come back a little bit. Maybe soccer comes back a little bit in the U.S. I really don't see that happening, but if you're going to have 2026 World Cup, I think, whoever the stars are there's still going to be a ton of collectability and a ton of eyes on those people. And that's the thing. The U.S. men's national team is able to have that household draw where someone that's never really been too into it can just kind of look and be like, I'm a fan of the U.S. because, I live here, so I will watch it. I will cheer for them, and the trajectory that we're on now, we're not going to win the World Cup or anything, but we'll be, a lot more competitive than we have in the past, and that's what I'll say. So for that reason alone, I think if we are kind of at the top of our game in relation to us and where we've been in the past, and producing the best young talent that we ever have the last few years, and it looks to be continuing, if that's the case, I just think that the growth of the sport and just the perspective of it all and how we see it is going to change entirely. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, the crown is ripe for the taking as well, is what I'll say. In terms of GOAT for U.S. men's national team, like I said, it's all about what you watch. So there is going to be, in people's eyes here, a GOAT at some point, like for soccer. You could argue about who it's been in the past, but there's not really a clear-cut answer because we've never really done anything that great on a national team scale. Certain teams at certain eras, sure, we've done kind of decent things, but, you know, maybe one day hosting a World Cup if we do something a little crazy, obviously, again, not win it, but just, you know, look pretty good. If that were to happen, like, they could easily become GOATs of the sport in the U.S., which, I mean, you don't have that potential with a lot. I mean, you know, everyone sells you on that potential in the other sports, but I mean, in reality, it's so hard to overtake LeBron and MJ at this point. UFC, I mean, maybe, but there's still UFC. It's so blurry because there's so many people, and you know, it's just hard. And MLB, you're always, I mean, again, so many people. With soccer, it's just a very limited pool that have done at the highest level of what we're kind of showing now. So that's how I feel in terms of the future and the outlook on soccer overall. I'm, you know, for it. I think it looks pretty good. Overall, it's just whenever soccer is just trending younger and younger, and I think that the women's national team success really does help the men's national team success, kind of, because, you know, it gets more women into the game, keeps them engaged, keeps them watching, definitely puts their kids onto the sport. And with the kind of drawback in football, I mean, you know, kind of a lot of this stopping with football and, you know, just getting kids away from there. Sure, it's still going to exist and there's still going to be plenty of kids that go play football over soccer. I'm not delusional, but you can kind of tell, I mean, like, the golden generation's been, like, you know, the last couple years and what's to come, and that seems kind of like when the, you know, the shift changed back in the day. So, you know, not saying anything, but I think that we're kind of on the right path, and at the end of the day, if we're on the right path and I think the market in total is just undervalued, I'm going to go with U.S. men's national team stuff because it's what I watch. It's what people are going to care about here. And you can think however you want about that if you're a European collector. Makes your stuff cheaper. I'd say that's the best way to look at it. You know, continue to have your own fun. And if, you know, the larger world gets into soccer collecting, or just the larger fan base of soccer gets into it, obviously this isn't becoming a global phenomenon, but just kind of get the people into it. If they get in here from that sense, you know, it'll all go up and you'll be fine too. And personally, I'd be fine with that too because I have tons of Europeans and I don't just collect U.S. men's national team soccer, despite the YouTube channel name and the Instagram name. But with that said, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Anything you want to tell me, let me know in a comment down below. And on top of that, if you want to see more videos like this as soon as I go live, make sure to subscribe. And with that said, hopefully you guys have a wonderful day and peace. Was it 10 minutes? 8, 7, what?